Pied Piper by Black Hole Ch.8. Chapter 8. Orbital Sunrise. Read by Mika. Are you really going back out there? They could be staking out the area to see if you come back for it. Midoriya scowls, knowing that the boy is right, but he feels like he's lost a limb. He has school tomorrow and dojo directly afterwards, so he can't just go looking for it in the morning. His hands feel just a little bit empty and useless without it. He rubs at where the cuffs had dug into his wrists. It had taken Neo a good hour and a half to cut through them without also hurting the boy. Do you have a different hoodie I could borrow? I don't want to go back looking like Piper if there are still people looking for me. Tsukauchi sighs. Yeah. Here. Neo takes a moment to dig through his closet before tossing him a hoodie, the younger boy slipping it on without really looking at it. When he does, he grimaces. Is this really the only hoodie I can borrow? Midoriya looks down distastefully at the piece of clothing. Neo stifles a laugh. You said you didn't want to look like a vigilante. The 15-year-old gives him a disgruntled look, before looking back at the obnoxiously bright Wild Wild Pussycat's design. Don't get me wrong, I love them. Rock on with these sparkling gazes and all that jazz, but isn't this a bit too eye-catching? I think it's perfect for what you're doing. This is revenge for coming in with the handcuffs, isn't it? Just a little bit, Tsukauchi replies, grinning. Midoriya huffs out a laugh before the vigilante pulls open his right eye, pinching out the red contact. He blinks a few times, clearing his vision. Do you have something I could put this in? Like a sandwich bag or something? Neo nods. Yeah, just give me a sec. He sneaks out the bedroom door, coming back a few moments later with a small snack bag and a bottle of saline solution. Here, my mum wears contacts too. I figured you need it. Thanks. Neo blinks at him dumbly. I've never seen you like this. Midoriya looks up, confused by the words as he slips the bag in his pants pocket. Like what? Normal. Izuku lets out a surprised laugh. I guess this is your first time seeing me completely out of costume, huh? He steps over one of the teen's work tables, carefully picking up Snipe's gun from where he'd left it. I still can't believe you took his gun. It's the only weakness of his that I could exploit, Midoriya whines, a little laughter seeping into his voice. I'll make sure to return it at some point, though. See you later. Thanks for getting those off. Neo settles himself back into his desk chair. No big deal. It'll give me something to study. Besides, if I can figure out how they work, I might just be able to tell you how to get them off yourself next time. Midoriya slips out the window, pulling his shoes on. Hopefully there won't be a next time. Hopefully, Tsukauchi parrots back. Once Midoriya gets close to the alley he'd escaped from, he slips his face mask back on just to be safe. He hopes it'll be enough to disguise his identity, if anyone's loitering around the site looking for him. When he gets there, he doesn't see the pipe, and his heart immediately drops. If they took it to the police station, they could easily lift my prints. He glances down quickly at his bare hands, before his eyes go to fly around the alley. He moves boxes and peeks behind and underneath the trash cans and dumpsters. My prints shouldn't be registered in on any of their systems, but there's always the off chance. And if I ever get caught, all they have to do is get my prints and match them up. It'll be a death sentence. Midoriya peeks into one of the dumpsters, eyes spying a glint of metal. He frowns, unable to see it clearly in the shadow of the dumpster walls. Shit, Izuku mutters, quickly jumping in to check out what it is. He picks it up almost gently, fearful that it's not what he's looking for. But it is the cool metal fitting seamlessly into his palms. I can't believe they thought you were garbage. You should be there with it. The abandoned plaything left to rot with molding food. How soothing of a cockroach. Midoriya frowns, heart clenching, as he leaps back out of the dumpster. The vigilante sniffs Dale's hoodie with a look of disgust. Sorry, Sakauchi. I don't know if I'll be able to get the smell out. He looks down, grimacing, when he also sees an unidentified substance clinging to his sneakers. He lets out a quiet whine. My shoes. He tries his best to scrape it all off on the concrete, as he slips the end of the staff down the back of one of his pant legs, and pulls the hoodie over the top of it. I can't just walk around with my staff out, and people could be looking for Piper. Everything goes smoothly, except for the one cop he runs into, who asks him what he was doing out so late. Midoriya makes up some half-assed excuse about going to get his mum from work because his brother has a fever. The officer lets him go without another word, not questioning the boy's irregular gait if he notices. From there, he heads home for the night. He's only an hour later than he should be, but he feels completely exhausted as he tugs everything off and pulls on some actual pajamas. He tosses Dale's hoodie into his dirty clothes pile before slipping into bed, already half asleep. The encounter with Snipe had scared the boy, scared him to the point where he has nightmares that night of getting caught, of not running fast enough, of ending up with a bullet through his chest. It's enough for him to start thinking about better protection, better gear. But with summer drawing closer, both he and Neo had found themselves stressing over their upcoming exams. And seeing how diligently the older teen had been pouring himself over his school projects, Midoriya couldn't find the heart to ask him to do anything more. He realizes that he can't drag any more civilians into his vigilante scheme. But this conclusion places an even larger pill on the table that he sits at. A pill that has been labeled villain. He reluctantly picks up the pill and swallows, commissioning the purchase of a few specialty items from one of the illegal support gear dealers he'd met while tailing another criminal. The vigilante had been chasing the man a good quarter mile, just on his heels. And so, when his target slams through the door of a nondescript building, voice rawly shouting, "Help!" It slows the man down enough to where the boy finally gets the chance to knock the feet out from under him. He hits the ground, stomach first, jaw slamming painfully into the floor as the air is knocked from his lungs. Piper scowls, pressing his foot into the man's back when he tries rising. The boy's chest heaves after the mad sprint through the streets. "I just wanted to ask you a question, damn it. Where the hell did you run?" "Help!" the man shouts instead. The vigilante's head snaps up, taking in his surroundings. It's some sort of warehouse, mostly empty, but there are a few crates and boxes stacked along the walls. "Help!" the man's voice echoes, and Piper presses down harder on the guy's back in warning. There's a metal staircase on the wall to his left that leads up to an office, the large windows looking into it shuttered with blinds. He doesn't see anyone, but that only makes the vigilante more wary. He takes his chances and quickly zip-ties the man's hands together. "Kieran!" Midoriya's eyes snap towards the second-story office again, slowly pulling himself out of his crouch as the new man steps out the door, lit cigarette between his fingers. "Junko, I thought I told you we weren't doing business together anymore." When the newcomer takes in the full situation, there's a cat-like grin that pulls at his lips, showing off his missing tooth. His glasses right up his nose, glinting in the overhead lights of the warehouse. "Well, if it isn't Matsudafu's little Pied Piper." His grin widens. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" Midoriya had seriously debated working with the criminal, but if he wanted to keep himself on patrol, then he'd have to at least make sure that he could keep himself from getting seriously injured. Or, at the very least, to make sure he could keep himself alive. At first, he'd only gone in to get a lightweight, bulletproof vest of some sort. But, mid-meeting, he'd had the thought to have his elbow and knee pads replaced with something of a more professional grade, and maybe a few more protective pieces. Then, he'd realized that a hoodie and sweatpants weren't the best thing one could wear to fight crime. And there were also the few weapons he ended up asking for. So, in the end, his shopping list had been just a bit longer than originally anticipated. He'd racked up quite a bill, if Kieran's gap-toothed smile had been anything to go by, but with all the drug dealers he'd been encountering lately, the vigilante had saved up more than enough money in cash alone. Kieran hands him an untraceable phone before he leaves. The man calls it a sign of his loyalty and their friendship, and told him this is how they'd get in touch. Izuku was sure to ask Sakauchi to check if they were bugged. Not even a week after he'd put in his order with the broker, Midoriya gets a call on the phone he'd been gifted. Midoriya would have spent the entire night studying for the finals in the morning if it had been anything other than Kieran's voice on the other end of the line, telling him that his stuff was ready. He's there within 30 minutes. "I can give you the gear you asked for," Kieran says. "But you'll have to find your weapons elsewhere." The broker sighs. "If it gets out that I'm giving you gear, I'd be ruined. And if someone found out I'd given you weapons, too, I'd be dead. You know that. I can't break my client's trust like that. The man grins as he slides a bag across the desk to the boy. I've got lots of clientele that come to me griping about you, you know. It's been almost 2 weeks since he'd first met the man, and only 5 days since he'd commissioned them. And despite the fact that he's sitting across from a villain, he can't help himself from feeling a little giddy about the aspect of getting an actual hero costume. I'd tell you how easily I can solve that problem, but you probably wouldn't like the outcome, the Vigilante replies, eyes crinkling and a smirk forming behind his mask. He peeks into the bag, eyes catching on the bulletproof vest on top. It's a shame, though. I was looking forward to those weapons. Kieran huffs. Yeah. Now get out of here. And you have criminals to lock up. Midoriya laughs, passing a large wad of cash to the man. Yeah. Maybe even more than usual with all of this. He glances up, eyes locking for a moment with Kieran's. The shoes still have spikes, though, right? The man's grin turns cat-like. Of course. I keep my promises, Piper. The next day, after finals are over, he sleeps. An entire night and day. Exhausted both mentally and physically, he'd strained himself. Trying to balance his time between vigilante work and schoolwork and the dojo had ended with his already desolate sleeping schedule looking like it had been the ground zero of a nuclear air raid. So, he sleeps to make up for it. And the next time he wakes up, it's early afternoon the next day, and Inko is long gone for work. He excitedly shoves all his new gear into his backpack to show Sakauchi later, and awkwardly shimmies Piper's pipe down his pant leg again. For once, he leaves out their front door, just like any other regular citizen. As he walks, he thinks about how he'd never actually gone to see the boy during daylight hours. He honestly feels a little giddy about the fact that that's about to change. He's a little wary about scaling the teen's fire escape in broad daylight, but he's in civilian clothes this time, so he figures if anyone sees him, it wouldn't be as disastrous of a discovery. He knocks on the window as he slides his shoes off. He's not expecting me, so I shouldn't just barge in. The curtains part cautiously, revealing a sleep-ruffled Deo that looks as if he's only just woken up. Midoriya? Izuku can only see the name mouthed through the glass, and waves sheepishly at the older teen. He slips his backpack off, and sends it through the window first as Ao opens it. Morning, Sakauchi. I didn't wake you up, did I? The 15-year-old carefully slides the pipe out from his clothes, leaning it against the outer wall as the older boy watches on in amusement. You did, actually. Izuku is halfway through the window when there's a heavy knock on Sakauchi's door. Ao, you better be up, it's almost 2. The door opens without another word, revealing a middle-aged woman. She pauses mid-step, only able to stare for a moment. Her hair is pulled up into a half bun, dark eyes taking in the scene before her. Nail. Her voice is calm. Who is that? Midoriya's eyes zip towards the 17-year-old, both of them frozen in their spots. Tsukauchi is stuck holding his backpack full of vigilante gear, trying not to gape at the woman, and Izuku is still rooted in his position halfway through the window. Nail, she says again, jolting the boy into answering. Mum! Tsukauchi's voice jumps in pitch. This is Midoriya, my friend. The 15-year-old startles at being referred to as a friend, eyes widening. Sweat beads on both boys' brows, watching the woman for a reaction. Of course it would be a friend of yours, she sighs exasperated. Well, come in then, no use hanging there like a window box. Midoriya carefully creeps the rest of the way in, embarrassed when the woman takes obvious note of his All Might socks and bright yellow fat gum hoodie. So, I'll assume that you're the one my brother caught here a month ago. Midoriya internally cringes, recalling his mad dash out Nail's window. Yes, ma'am, he murmurs quietly. Izuku bows sheepishly, introducing himself before quietly apologizing for the disruption. There's an air of silence that falls over the three of them, the two boys not daring to move. Are you dating? There's another beat of silence before all hell breaks loose. No! Absolutely not. We're friends. He's my friend. Midoriya's hands helicopter around his face, cheeks flushed a beet red. Beside him, Tsukauchi fares no better. Midoriya lets out a strangled noise before they fall into another spell of silence. Well, Miss Tsukauchi hums, a mischievous glint to her eyes. She looks between the two of them in mild amusement. I'll leave you to it, then. It was nice meeting you, Midoriya. You're more than welcome to leave through the door, if you'd rather. She turns, leaving the room, but stops last second, peeking back in to eye them with a vexatious smile. Dinner is at 6, if you decide to stick around long enough. The two deflate the moment the woman closes the door behind them. Midoriya can't find the strength to respond, moving to collapse onto the bed. Nail lets out the breath he'd been holding, slumping down in his chair. Sorry. I should have warned you she's like that. Midoriya brings his hands up to drag them down his face, cheeks hot beneath his fingers. She reminds me of my mom, only like 12 times as mischievous. They fall into a casual silence for a few moments, before Deo speaks up again. So, what are you doing here so early? The 15-year-old's eyes light up, scrambling to push himself back up and grab his bag from where Deo had set it. He holds it up, plopping it down on the bed beside him. He pulls out Deo's sweatshirt first, and tosses it to him before he starts digging again. My hoodie. Took you long enough. I thought I was never getting this back. I had to wash it a few times to get the smell out. Leo looks at him wide-eyed. You know what? I don't even want to know. It's probably better that you don't. But that's not the main reason why I'm here. That broker guy I told you about called again. Midoriya glances at him, eyes alight with a flame as bright as the sun in his chest, when he starts pulling everything out, the grin on his face stretching with each new item. I got a bulletproof vest and metal-plated arm and shin guards, and I got new hero-grade knee and elbow pads, and since I'm climbing buildings and stuff a lot, I got some gloves to help with grip. Then, since it's been getting hotter, I got a new hoodie and some cargo pants. They're made out of a really lightweight and breathable material. They look normal, but they're actually super durable and made out of the same material some pros use for their suits. And look! Boots! With spikes! The boy's eyes sparkle with excitement as Theo studies each of the items the vigilante drags out. Theo lets out his own excited laugh. How much did this all even cost you? Wads of cash from 6 different drug dealers. Tsukachi grins. Is that how you're counting money now? By drug dealers? What? Midoriya teases. You aren't? From there, they fall into idle conversation, as Theo looks over the gear, checking that there's no sort of tracking devices or bugs, and anything else that's seemingly suspicious. Nothing comes up, and by the time they've finished fanboying over the new gear, it's 2 p.m., and Theo is shoveling bites of cereal into his mouth between sentences. There's obviously more stuff you can get, or that I can make for you. You said your dealer wouldn't get you weapons, so I'm sure most of my time will go to stuff like that for you. But I also think it'd be cool to have something other than just your flimsy face mask to hide your identity. Theo mumbles, trying to speak around the food in his mouth. Midoriya scratches at his chin, thinking it over. You're right. The 15-year-old checks the time on his phone, pursing his lips. I should probably head out now. I wanted to do some patrolling to test out the new gear. Theo looks up at him. It's not even 3 yet. Are you sure you want to head out so soon? We can think up some designs for a mask if you want to. I would, but since it's summer break, I was thinking about trying some daytime patrols. I mean, sure, you can catch people out and about late at night, but in the end, you'll be able to help more people when there are more people. It won't be an everyday thing since I still have dojo, but I'll help when I can. Theo hums in acknowledgement. So no more nighttime patrols. I'll still do nighttime stuff. I'm thinking of splitting everything into quarters. I can sleep late in the mornings, and then if these daytime patrols go well, I can stay out until dinner, sleep some more, and keep mostly the same night patrol pattern that I had during school. Theo lets out a low whistle. No rest for the wicked then, huh? Midoriya's eyes flicker towards the window. If there's no rest for the wicked, then there's none for the righteous either. That's just how the world is. That's how the world should be. Tsukachi corrects him, twirling slowly in his chair as he stares up at the ceiling. Midoriya hums in agreement as he pushes himself up. You mind if I change in here? Theo rolls himself towards the bedroom door, scooping another bite of cereal into his mouth. Go ahead. I'll keep guard. He turns his back to the boy, facing the corner as he presses his ear to the door, continuing to eat. The vigilante starts with his contact, before pulling on all the new gear, the transformation taking only a few minutes. All right, you're good, he calls, opening the window as he sets his new boots outside for later. How do I look? Like a semi-professional vigilante in all-white socks, and not just someone who got their gear at a thrift store. Tsukachi gives him a playful smile as Midoriya huffs in mock offense. I'll have you know I got my old stuff from my closet and my pipe from a garbage dump. Not that it's any of your business. Izuku isn't able to keep his lips from rising into a grin behind his mask. Wow. A garbage dump. That's some high-quality product you have there. I'm sorry if I offended you. The two send each other matching grins, as Midoriya shoves his other clothes into his bag, leaning out the window to grab the shoes he came in, to shove them upside down on the top. Do you mind if I leave this here? I don't want to take it with me on patrol. I'll come back for it afterwards. That's fine. Sakelchi rolls over, taking the backpack from the boy and tucking it in his closet. Be safe out there, yeah? Villains aren't the only people active during the day. Watch out for the cops and heroes. It'd be a shame to waste all that drug money by getting caught immediately. He grins at the younger boy, amber eyes twinkling. Aw, you do care. With his new schedule, his vigilante activity rises exponentially. His first few daytime expeditions are stressful, and he constantly worries about being recognized as Midoriya Izuku, and not just Piper. But surprisingly, the only thing outside of Piper that he gets mistaken for is a hero. There's an old woman on the first day that thanks him for his service, and on the third, a little boy and his mum walk up to him asking if they can get a photo with him. At one point, there's even an actual hero that Midoriya recognizes from his hero news site that waves at him, thinking he's a new hero or something. He tries to stay out of sight, taking less crowded streets and sticking to alleys where he can, but he still manages to draw the eye. Boy takes picture with supposed hero. Mother shocked to discover it was a vigilante. By Akihito Jun, August 3rd, 2231. The mother of a young 5-year-old hero fan is mortified after a shocking discovery. One afternoon in the last week of July, Yamazaki Sayuri and her son Shun came across a young man in what they assumed was a pro-hero costume. But it wasn't a hero either of them recognized. This did not deter the young Shun, though, the 5-year-old excited by the aspect of meeting a new hero. At her son's insistence, they approached the hero. Yamazaki asked if they'd be willing to take a picture with her son. In an interview I did with Yamazaki-san, she said, he seemed a little reluctant to answer at first, but she figured that it was because he was on patrol or because he'd never been approached by someone asking for a picture before. He said yes after my son asked him personally. We took our picture and left, and I didn't really think much about it afterwards. But after posting the image on her social media profile, she received a comment claiming that this so-called hero that she let her son take a picture with wasn't actually a hero. Instead, it was a vigilante. For this, I turned to the internet for more information. I was able to get in contact with the owner of a popular hero blog, Royal Viper OK, to help me piece this story together. Royal Viper, after some research, was able to confirm the hero's identity as that of an up-and-coming vigilante, going by the name of Pied Piper. Viper explained over email that the vigilante has recently gained a new wardrobe, but that staff-like pipe which could be seen in Yamazaki's picture was a clear indicator of who he is. Royal Viper confirmed to me that without a doubt this mysterious hero was in fact a vigilante, and not just a low-ranked pro as Yamazaki-san and her son had originally believed. Royal Viper OK predicts that instances such as these aren't actually as uncommon as we believe. I'm sure that most people who look at Piper not knowing who he is would make the assumption that he's a hero. He can look the part to many, and he doesn't give off the sinister aura that most criminals would. There aren't many active vigilantes anymore, and so the idea of their existence gets pushed to the back of people's minds. Because of this, the possibility that someone like Piper being recognized as something other than hero is slim. Most people dismiss his existence after coming to the conclusion that he's not a villain, their minds equating the not villain signal with hero. Viper tells us that this specific vigilante has been much more active as of late, having only recently taken up a routine of patrolling during the day, which, as Royal Viper stated, was a bold move for any criminal. Really, if you think about it, Viper says in the last of our emails that it'd be easy for anyone to mistake someone like that for a pro-hero. I attempted to contact young Shin's mother again for comment, after sharing with her the information I received from Royal Viper OK, but as of yet, she has not been able to be reached. Yamazaki-san has since removed the picture from her profile. Copyright 2231 Matsudafu Hero Reporting, a division of Matsudafu Daily Networks, LLC. Over the next few days, Midoriya and Naol met up several more times, brainstorming ideas for a new mask and sharing stories from the Vigilante's patrols. At some point, they came to the realization that they should exchange numbers. Originally, the boy had never taken the phone with him on his night patrols, but now that he was out during the day, he was always worried his mother would try to contact him while he was out. Izuku had been flustered when Neo had started listing off his contact info, struggling to keep up through his surprise and excitement, because this is what friends do. Neo masked his own excitement with an excuse, claiming that it was only to make sure you don't go off and die without telling me, which is a valid excuse, but he also enjoys the idea of being able to talk with the boy whenever he wants, and not just when he decides to show up every day or two. Wikipedia. You home yet? Pipegun. Yeah, just got back from patrol. Wikipedia. Your mom is out of town tonight, right? She's on a business trip. Why? Wikipedia. My mom wants you over for dinner. I tried to warn you. You won't be able to escape family dinner. I already told her you were coming. I also finished making those smoke bombs, so... Midoriya pauses in pulling off his knee guards, staring down at his phone, incredulous. Pipegun. You realize the government reads this stuff, right? Wikipedia. You're not the only one with an untraceable phone. Anyways, my dinner is at 6. See you here. Smiley face. Pipegun. Fine. I'll be over in like 30 minutes. I have to finish changing. There's another moment of pause before another message comes through on Midoriya's phone. You know, I just realized that your vigilante initials spell out PP. Wikipedia changed your nickname to PP. PP. Do you want to die? Wikipedia changed your name to PP. Wikipedia. Smiley face. True to his word, Midoriya shows up at the boy's apartment some half-hour later, backpack stuffed with his gear for later that night. All right, Leo says, spinning around in his chair as soon as the vigilante crawls through the window. I was busy with finals, so I had to put them off for a while, but I finished them. It's literally been less than a week since finals, Midoriya says, looking up. And? The teen slides in his chair to his other workshop table. I've only made 3 so far, so use them sparingly. The 15-year-old laughs, excited but unsurprised, as he walks up to meet the other boy. Takeuchi picks up a utility belt, 3 tubular objects strapped in on one side. I figured you'd need something to hold them as well, so I made a belt. It also has room for future projects I'm planning, and they match your shoes. Dale doesn't miss the nebula that forms inside the Vigilante's polychrome eyes at seeing his latest project. They're all smoke bombs right now, but I was thinking I could make a few flashbangs later on. How did you even get the materials for these? Izuku asks, reverently taking the belt from his friend to inspect it. I didn't think you had any drug money, he jokes, amazed smile pulling at his lips. My school supplies any and all materials I need for any of my projects. Smoke grenades are a basic staple in our department, so it won't raise any eyebrows either. Make sure you put them to good use, yeah? Miss Sakachi's head peeks through the teen's door, as Izuku scrambles to shove new equipment into his bag. Neo, do you know when Oh. She pauses, spying the 15-year-old. You do realize you don't have to climb in through the windows, correct? Midoriya gives her a nervous smile. Old habits die hard, I'm afraid. She holds out her hand for the boy to shake, and Neo tenses at his side. Do you normally climb through people's windows? They shake hands, the woman's own still damp with dishwater. Usually just my own. His own words catch him by surprise, and Neo lets out a near-audible hiss. There's a distant memory that surfaces at the event, Neo's words coming back to him. Any questions she asks, you'll be forced to answer truthfully. From their position, they can all hear the knock that sounds at the front door. Midoriya nearly collapses in relief when the woman walks away, attention taken elsewhere. Oh. Neo, go get the door. That must be your uncle. Sakachi's amber eyes widen as she walks back towards the kitchen. Shit! Neo hisses. Midoriya looks over at him, startled by the outburst. I didn't know he was coming. He quickly turns to the younger boy, grabbing him by the shoulders. Whatever you do, don't lie. His grip tightens. Don't lie about anything.